Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be presenting research that discusses and explores sexual development from birth through adolescence. We'll explore questions such as what is considered to be healthy sexual development, what interferes with healthy sexual development, what factors increase the likelihood that young people will engage in sexual activity before they are emotionally ready, and what are the clinical implications of unhealthy sexual development and early sexual debuts. Question: When does healthy sexual sorry about that. When does healthy sexual development begin? Researchers agree that personality and sexual development begin at birth. Yaber and Said affirm that children are born with sexual and erotic potential. Sonograms show that boys are capable of obtaining an erection in utero. Soon after birth, girls experience vaginal lubrication, and infants can discover the pleasure of genital stimulation. Yaber and Said note that this observation does not imply that these responses are associated with sexual pleasure. In addition to sexual response, infants begin to acquire a broad spectrum of emotional and intellectual responses. Based on how parents react, infants gain an understanding of what they should do. If a parent discourages the infant's exploration of their genital area, the infant may conclude that action is wrong. In other words, if a parent spots the child exploring their genital areas and reacts to them by pushing the hand away, or even a verbal kind of disappointment, or any kind of facial expression of disappointment, the infant will conclude that the action is wrong. Appropriate parental response to infant natural curiosity can help the infant use his or her new capabilities to enhance psychosocial development. Research also says that it's not that a parent can't discourage a child from doing certain things in public. It just, they would probably be more helpful if they would just maybe let them know that the behavior is normal, just to be done in private. Successful psychosocial development can serve as building blocks for future psychosocial developments. Okay. Sexual development influence personality development. It is important for parents or caregivers to be aware of a child's normal sexual development. Mary Caldron, a physician and human sexuality educator, emphasizes that children's normal sexual interests should not be categorized as bad. If a child's natural curiosity is satisfied, he or she will be more inclined to feel more comfortable with his or her body as an adult. Sexual development, ages 3 to 11. Many children begin to interact with their peers by the age of 3. It is common and considered normal for children to role play with their peers. During role play, children may hug, kiss, or lie on top of each other. They may also explore their peers' genital area. Through exploration, children usually discover that playing with genital area is pleasurable. Sexual development, ages 3 to 11. In the early stages of development, children internalize perceived messages. By the age of 4 or 5, children usually figure out that adults consider masturbatory behavior to be unacceptable or dirty. Children can internalize if something feels good, it must be bad. Again, that's the same thing as before that was stated, that if a child does something that appears to be like a masturbation type of behavior, parent reacts very negatively towards it because they think it's not appropriate. It may give the child the impression or internalize the idea that it must be bad. Negative internalized message can lead to psychological and sexual difficulties such as anxiety and guilt later on in life. Puberty is a major development milestone. Puberty marks the beginning of a biological, social, and psychological stage of change for adolescents. It is the stage of development when people are capable of reproduction. The average age that puberty occurs is between the age of 9 and 14 for males and between the age of 8 and 13 for females. Hormonal changes also occur during puberty. Hormones called gonadotropins, might not have pronounced that right, stimulate the ovaries to produce estrogen, cause the testes in boys to increase testosterone levels. The increased production of hormone results in development of secondary sex characteristics. In girls, this includes the beginning of menstruation. In boys, it includes sperm development inside the testes. Initial developmental changes during puberty. The first signs of developmental changes that occur during puberty is for males is the size increase in the testes. For females, it's breast development. According to Yarber and Syed, adolescents are considered to be sexually mature in a physical sense. Boys experience deepening of the voice, hair growth around the body, including the pubic area, growth in penis size, and change in body shape. Girls experience beginning of a growth spurt. External, genital, vulval, and pubic hair will start to grow, and the body shape will change. In terms of psychosocial development, a major decision for adolescents is when to begin sexual activities. The culture and individual implications of sexual debut is very significant. There are many emotional and symbolic impacts that are associated with a person's first sexual experience. For many people, it is considered to be a transition into adulthood. For some, it is a loss of sexual innocence. For others, it is associated with marital status. Before engaging in sexual behavior, it would be very beneficial to be prepared for the outcomes and responsibilities. The problem that may occur in this case is that when people start too young, they're not really able to really kind of gauge or identify or consequences. They're not able to really think about the consequences most of the time. There are consequences of engaging in sexual activities prematurely. Consequences include loss of freedom to be a child, an underdeveloped sense of self, inability to form positive interpersonal relationships, and increased risk of future negative behaviors and poor decision-making ability. People who engage in sex at a young age are less likely to use condoms, more likely to be involved with multiple sexual partners. These behaviors increase the risk of teenage pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV. A condition that can impede healthy sexual development is known as Precocious puberty. Precocious puberty is a condition in which children experience puberty at a young age. For boys, this occurs before the age of 9, and for girls, it occurs before the age of 7. Children who experience precocious puberty are more likely to engage in risky behaviors and struggle to deal with physical changes and psychological challenges of puberty. The physical changes that are connected with precocious puberty make a young girl appear to be older than they are, which can negatively impact the psychosocial development of young girls and can increase the odds that young girls will be pressured by others to act older. Seen this in definitely social media has an influence on that. And when people see a girl who appears to look older, even though they're younger, they might interact with them too. Which means, and additionally, it can push young girls into adulthood before they are psychologically prepared. That's a very significant point. That when kids appear older than they are, there's a potential for them to kind of be encountered by older people, and that could potentially obviously have a negative impact on their development. Other factors that increase the likelihood that young children will engage in sexual activities before they are emotionally ready. Child sex abuse. Research studies on victims of child abuse indicate that children who are abused have sexual intercourses at a younger age and are more likely to not use proper birth controls. Obviously, that could obviously lead to different types of things already discussed: sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, and pregnancies. In addition to child abuse, there are other forms of trauma that were found to be correlated with early sexual debuts and risky sexual behaviors. Unfortunately, incidents of childhood trauma are not rare. It is estimated that 40% of Americans have experienced significant trauma and meet the criteria for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. In the textbook Celebration of Sex, Rosnell reported that 1 of 3 girls experienced a sexual traumatizing incident by the time she is 11, and boys are abused at almost the same rate. Think about that, is very significant. 1 of 3, 30% if my math is correct, 33% actually, which seems a bit high. I particularly was struck by those statistics, and found that to be, I guess, sad and shocking. And it has very important implications of sexual development. Obviously, the child abuse and trauma and different things like that really have a significant impact on various aspects of a child development. Excuse me. Reducing the impact of negative childhood experience takes a concerted effort and involves many levels of support. Parents are considered to be an ideal source of support for children and adolescents. Children and adolescents who report they felt supported by their parents or primary caregiver have lower incidence of risky sexual behavior. Unfortunately, many parents are ambivalent about being too involved in their child's sexual development. All of the contributing factors that negatively impact children and adolescents can be mitigated in a healthy therapeutic environment. There are a variety of therapeutic models that can be utilized to facilitate healthier psychosocial development. Sorry, okay. The family therapy is one option that can improve family communication and increase family support. Both family communication and both family community and family support are necessary ingredients for healthy psychosocial development. The family system perspective views the whole family as a client. So this approach can help family unit work through barriers relating to communication. Okay. Since research suggests or points out that a healthy family communications and adolescents who are feeling supported, and of course adolescent and children who feel supported from their parents are healthier, and this obviously is an area that can be addressed. I'm pretty sure that there are other indications that other than early sexual debut behavioral wise that indicate that the family communications and the family support isn't there, and those kinds of signs can really indicate the necessity for family therapy. Again, the child is a product of an environment, and the family systems approach views the whole family as the client, meaning that it's not just the identified person that is the child. There's a system that needs to be repaired, and the family system therapy is really identifies those things and works on improving areas of family system that will produce a healthier person, a healthier family, a healthier healthier child and adolescent. In addition to family therapy, evidence-based trauma treatments, trauma focus with something called TFCBT, trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, was developed by Cohen, Mannarino, and Blinger. It is based on traditional cognitive behavioral therapy, but was specifically tailored for children who have experienced trauma. Research indicate that it is very, very effective in treating post-traumatic stress symptoms. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is a conjoint parent-child treatment that uses cognitive behavioral principles and exposure techniques to prevent and treat post-traumatic stress, depression, and behavioral problems. Again, the system here that's being pointed out is a cognitive behavior system, and its integrated trauma approach integrates the family, which is another treatment that focuses on family therapy and healing. Another form of therapy that has been relatively popular over the years is something called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It was discovered by Dr. Francine Shapiro and has been used effectively to treat trauma, and has been used for adults and children who are diagnosed with PTSD. So EMDR principles. EMDR principles, memory network, are the basis of pathology and health. Basically, their view is the past is the present. Maladaptive conclusions from the past are inadequately processed. Affect the present, negatively affect the present. Part of the process through EMDR is something called reprocessing. So reprocessing takes place when dual attention on past memories combined with bilateral stimulations to eye movement. So essentially, the theory is based on rapid eye movement. The period of sleep in rapid eye movement is significant for is significant to health. And the EMDR, which is used, it's called bilateral stimulation, but it was initially used for eye movements. So what they would do is have you bring up a past memory, and they would have you they would manipulate their hands or other methods to move the eyes back and forth, imitating rapid eye movement. This process, it's hard to really understand exactly why it worked, but this process helps people reprocess experience and untie negative beliefs that were associated with that memory. So when reprocessing is successful, the previously disturbing memories are neutralized and effectively integrated with similar experiences, meaning that they're not memories that become forgotten. They're just memories that become part of a person's experience, but are disassociated with the negative beliefs that often occur when people experience negative experiences. So, in conclusion, healthy human sexual development is not very easy to achieve. Research presented explores various challenges that children and adolescents encounter, which can negatively affect their mental and physical health of individuals. The good thing is that there are valuable resources available that help families and individuals navigate through these challenges. It would be a worthy goal to increase access to sexual education and resources that can help individuals and families and society. The resources are available. Therapy and all forms of helpful resources are out there, and it seems from my perspective, this is, of course, that the education system isn't out there in the mainstream. Society, I think, relies on different forms of media or different forms of other less educational systems to help them, or hurt them actually, gain knowledge of proper sexual development and normal sexual development. I think that if we can somehow focus on education, increase education, and make it known that resources are available for people, that they can become more adaptive and healthier. That concludes the research that I conducted, or a research paper that I am presenting.